Hello, friends. Welcome to our next webinar in the STEM Showcase series. Today, we invite a very creative team of Unruly Splats to learn how to make coding kinesthetic and why this active cross-curricular STEM program should be in every classroom. I'm Irina Tully, one of the founders of Eduporium. Eduporium is your one-stop destination to a wide range of innovative edtech tools from well-known manufacturers to emerging innovative companies like Unruly Splats. With our sole focus on education, we search all over the world for technology, mainly with physical components, that can bring value to teaching and learning. We do in-house testing to save your time and design many programs to meet your changing needs. Like bundle customization or our own monthly $500 grant for 2 educational programs. We are a certified minority business enterprise and on national and state contracts. I really love what we do and trust we can help you. So visit our store or talk to us. We are real people and we listen and respond. But our mission does not stop with our deep commitment to vetting edtech products. In partnership with educational organizations like ASAs and teacher centers, we also invest in pedagogical research to connect pedagogy and tools for meaningful learning. And we need the next slide, please. As our pedagogical framework, we use the 3H model that puts emphasis on the balanced development of the whole child. So what are the 3H's? They are heart, head, and hands or feet. Head is intellectual or cognitive aspect of learning, where students gain knowledge and understanding. Heart represents emotional or affective development, where students grow empathy, appreciation, and personal connections. And hands and feet stands for action, movement, or practical application, where students engage in active activities and apply what they learn. And next one, but the next feature of our system is supporting tech tools. Again, what tools we are talking about? They are commonly known as STEM, STEAM, physical computing, or maker ed technology. In my mind, they are a concentration of creativity in material form. They represent the knowledge and skills of their inventors who are frontiers of the current innovation economy. The meaningful use of this technology in learning can resonate with the hidden and oftentimes suppressed creativity of teachers and students. And now, the inventors of one of these tools, Unruly Splats, will start their presentation.
Thank you, Irina. I'm excited to be here with my teammates, Brendan, and our CEO and founder, Brianne. We're here to talk about today about how Unruly Splats combines coding and active play for your whole school. So getting students up and out of their seats and exposed to computer science in a collaborative and hands-on way. We'd love to hear in the chat, where you're joining us from and your roles. So as we get started and kick things off, please put in the chat your name and where you're joining us from. And today what we're going to cover is why computer science education at the elementary and middle school level is important and why that early exposure to computer science is really beneficial for students. We'll talk about how Unruly supports schools and districts in exposing their students to computer science. And then you'll get an inside look also at how a Splats implementation works and what it really looks like in different classrooms throughout the school. And we'll finish up with an app tour as well, so you can see it in action. But as we go along, please put your questions in the chat as we go, and we'll either answer them as we go or save them for the end, but we'd love to hear from the audience. I'm going to pass it over to Brianne.
Excellent. So great to see everybody today. I'm Brianne Leaving, the founder and CEO of Unruly and inventor of the Splats. And I started Unruly to make STEM learning more inclusive, collaborative, and fun. And we're going to show you how we do that today through lots of different videos and our demo and things like that. So as you all, definitely know, computer science is becoming increasingly an in-demand skill, and many states are mandating it be taught at the state level. And even more and more, it's being mandated to be taught in elementary schools. So really kind of building that STEM feeder program, we call it, like kind of getting the excitement, the engagement up in an early age. And even so, only 6% of high school students take a computer science class. And of those students, it's not a very diverse audience. You're only seeing about 23% women and 20% people of color taking that computer science class in high school. And so definitely an area where we want to be more inclusive and inviting to more students into computer science through these approachable experiences. It's also really something that children who study computer science perform better in other subjects. There have been studies done on this. So they actually, by taking computer science, can help improve their problem solving, improve their scores in math and ELA and things like that as well. And they're 17% more likely to take computer science in college. And we are also finding, and something that goes behind sort of the Splats philosophy, is that collaboration is a top skill in today's workplace. So when tech teams today are building new products, they're not doing that in a silo. They're not doing that alone. They're working together to find out what customers need. They're working together to solve problems and develop these products together. And so we really emphasize that in what we do. They are 73% do better at work, 60% are more innovative when they're collaborating, and 56% are more satisfied at work. It's more fun. So that's what we do.
Brianna, just a second. Sorry to interrupt. So what was your personal story? Because you're an inventor of this. So how did you come up with this idea?
Yes. So I was really lucky that when I was in third grade, I was exposed to computer science at school, and it really changed the trajectory of my life. I ended up taking computer science in college and going into the tech industry. And I always thought back on that experience really fondly and thinking of how do we kind of engage more students in this? I've also always been an athlete my whole life. And I thought, that's the way you kind of get kids engaged. It can be like this physical activity, this like group team play. And so I sort of thought to combine those two things, started prototyping that, met Dr. Aman Milner early on from the Scratch team at MIT Media Lab. And we took this concept of block coding and combined it with the active play. And at the same time, my husband, who he has been a career educator, and so kind of saw the implementation side from how do you bring a new technology into schools and really meet teachers where they're at and work with the teachers to build that really groundswell enthusiasm with them and be that thing that wants to kind of get out to students. So we've kind of worked together on that all over. So that's sort of where it all came from.
Beautiful. Please continue.
And shoot to today, we're at 30 million stomps on the Splats. So it has been an incredible journey getting here. So challenges that we typically hear from districts, that physical activity has dropped 40% in the last 5 years. You're seeing a lot of students sitting at school, being on screens. Teachers feel there's not enough time in the day to bring computer science into the school day. And a lack of those collaborative learning opportunities. Like I said, a lot of it is solo screen time for kids doing some of the activities they've been outlined.
Yeah, especially after COVID, during COVID.
Absolutely, yes. The screen time has certainly increased, and we have heard a lot that parents are not wanting that in the school day as well. And I don't think students are either. It's a lot of solo time, and you really do. We are naturally social creatures, and we want the connection. So the other thing is the learning loss in core content areas. You're hearing that a lot, and that's something that with our new programs, we do really try to bring in more math games, more ELA games through the computer science lens, which is really engaging for students. So a couple we take a lot of research as we go at Unruly. And so a couple key metrics we wanted to share is that first of all, most STEM programs, most districts are not where they need to be. About 5% of principals rated their school as having only about 5% as having like a high level of STEM engagement. And only 12% of those schools were incorporating STEM into the school day. And we'll hear that a lot as we start to think about implementation. Of making it easy to bring STEM into different parts of the day, because often there is no time in the day, like we saw in the challenges. There's no dedicated time in the day to do computer science. And so really finding those ways to do in bite-sized ways throughout all the different contexts of the school day have been really effective. So the biggest challenges that districts are facing with implementing STEM and computer science, some it's really that need for professional development, for the ongoing training and support. You're learning not only teaching coding, but in some cases we're learning how to code ourselves so that we can teach code. And that's a hard thing to do. And so really kind of that ongoing training support being there through that. The lack of time, like I said, so there's no maybe dedicated class or dedicated time. So how do we fit it in? And we have lots of amazing ways to do that through a cross-curricular structure. And also like the lack of interest, from teachers in terms of that comfort level, just really being willing to try. It's a new thing for many of us. And so we make that really fun. We have these amazing STOM competitions, things like that, to just get it to be this fun, easy thing, a great place to experiment. And do students spend too much time sitting throughout the school day? And 91.7% said yes. So definitely let us know in the chat if you agree with that. That was pretty unanimous. A lot of sitting happening in schools today.
Yeah, so we'll be jumping in to pass it over to Brendan to talk about how Unruly can really address all of these challenges that we see and make for a smooth implementation and easy kind of access to computer science for schools and students.
Yeah, thank you. I'm Brendan. I'm one of the Splats specialists. I'm here in Boston, Massachusetts, for anyone in that area. But our program, as a quick overview, if you're very unfamiliar, we help kind of take the software and incorporate it with the hardware that lets students get out of their seats and play, kind of bring that recess into the classroom, bring that joy and fun and engagement into it through Bluetooth connection with our hardware, the Unruly Splats. But the software itself allows them to code and create their own activities, like you see here in a little Dance Dance Revolution, or they can design relay races, obstacle courses, whack-a-mole, anything that comes to their mind. We hopefully get these students to being the creators themselves, the developers, and in their groups, creating activities that other classrooms can use and other grade levels can use. But if you want to go to the next slide, we really worked on the solution to be something a little bit more than, just any piece of technology, but it's really a partnership that we build with the schools. And first and foremost, we want to make sure that it's easy for teachers to use so that they're comfortable to incorporate this, that they're willing to try, because that first step is for the teacher to take the risk. And like Brianne mentioned earlier, learning coding using technology can be challenging. So we also want to provide that training and support to make sure they're very comfortable. So through Zoom calls, through one-on-one interactions with the teachers and our school success team, they feel that comfortability, they'll take that leap, and they'll try these new things that can make all the difference for the students. But when it comes to those students, we want to make sure they have a blast when they get their chance to use it. And it's something that from the first class to 8th grade, when they've mastered everything, there's always a challenge around the corner for them. It's never too easy. It's never novelty. It's something that keeps that joy running through the grade levels and allows for a lot of collaboration across grade levels. And that really brings us to the last piece, which is kind of combating that time in the day challenge, where we want to make sure that we can find these bite-sized opportunities to bring in computer science, not just in the silo of STEM or computer science, but in math, in science, in computer science or STEM, or in PE or music, or after school programs and summer school. All these different opportunities to bring in Unruly really makes us something that is applicable for a variety of classrooms. Every teacher can find a unique way to use it, and it exposes students that much more. 10 different 15-minute activities creates so much more exposure for these students that they wouldn't have had otherwise. And that's really the Unruly way. That's the Unruly solution. And when we get it right, there's a lot of activity that takes place in the classroom, but it's not just to learn coding. You can go to the next slide. It's really to help develop the whole student. Irina mentioned head, heart, and hands and feet, obviously. We really don't want to just teach them how to code, but from learning how to code, they're practicing critical thinking and problem solving. They're developing their ability to communicate and work in groups and collaborate. There's natural connections to math fluency and computer science and numeracy, but it just goes so much further when you add that play environment and that kinesthetic moment. They're more resilient. They're willing to take on these challenges, and they're doing so with smiles on their faces. And it's just so incredible to watch. It's something we're really proud of, but it always kind of comes back to us with the support. How can we make sure that teachers feel comfortable to bring in this new resource, that they feel, willing to explore how to use it themselves, so that it gives the students the opportunity to experience it as well. And so we are above and beyond. We go for the teachers to remove the amount of work they do after class or after school, so that they can have the most impact during that school day.
And Brandon, so you mentioned that you witnessed so much fun and engagement. So can you just say a little bit from your observation why the movement is such an important factor in learning?
Of course, I mean, I would give it to everyone to answer that one too. I think we all have our own experiences, but I think even just thinking of the youngest of students, they can only focus for so long. So if you can allow them to stay focused while doing that thing that's itching in their brain, which is getting out of that seat and running around, or what you might think is disruptive, can be applied to this incredible moment to learn. And by not telling them no, by allowing them to do that, they're going to be that much more willing to try that new thing as well. And if they're doing it with their classmates and through that sort of play feeling, they're going to be more creative. That, you've seen students at recess, I imagine, where they just come up with a new game and you have no idea what the rules are, but there are 13 to 20 kids playing the same game, following the same rules somehow, but it's all from this creation that just happens organically through play. And it's been awesome to watch, because they're the ones coding and creating those games.
So this is actually the nature of children, to move and create and learn and have fun at the same time. And this is what you captured.
Absolutely. Brienne was the one that captured it. I just get to talk about it. But I think I'm ready to pass it over to my teammate, Alexa, again, I believe, who's going to kind of show you a little more about the program itself.
Yeah. We'll get to see some examples of what that joy looks like in action through some classroom examples. But when we think about how Unruly Splats are used in a school, really you see them being used in two ways. One is to teach coding in that physically active and fun way. So students up and out of their seats and creating something tangible like an unruly game and learning coding concepts that way. And then the second way is through our pre-built library of games, where teachers are infusing that movement, that kinesthetic learning and engagement into core content areas using the math and ELA music lessons that we already have available to them in the app. So if you're to go into an Unruly classroom, you'd see the Splats being used in one of these ways. But the first way, that teaching coding in that physically active way, what we typically see schools and classrooms following is this play, modify, create progression. And what that means is the students start out by playing the pre-built games in our library. So you see a relay race going on in the background here. And that gets them really intrigued about what can these Splats do? What can I possibly build? And also allows them to start building those connections between the rules of the game and the actual behavior of the Splats that they'll be coding. After they play those games, they're able to actually modify the pre-existing code. So maybe they think of a new rule for the relay race, really tapping into their creativity, and then modifying the code within the app to speak to those rules. And then eventually this moves on to students being able to create their own game. So coming up with the idea, like Brendan mentioned, of a game with their own rules, and then making it in the coding app and then playing it with their students. So allowing them to really be the creators and the drivers of their creations.
Yeah, that's why it is unruly.
Yes, exactly. Yes. There are no rules besides the rules of the code.
That game in the background too was one built by students. It was a jousting game. They're trying to race to the splat, like Middle Ages jousting, which I thought was very creative.
Would not have normally thought of a jousting game.
No.
Yeah. So this is an example just really of a result of what students can come up with when you give them that control and you take them through that play, modify, create progression. These students were tasked as part of one of our events that we do. We did Splat Tank, so a little play on Shark Tank, where students were tasked with inventing a game that helps their classmates in some sort of way. And these two fourth grade students realized that their classmates were having a difficult time remembering their states and capitals. So they actually created a Splats game that helps them practice it. And it's like a states and capitals relay race, if you will. So I'll show you a little clip of that.
Hi, my name is Harper. Hello, my name is Kale. We made a game to help our class remember states and capitals because they have been having trouble memorizing it. This program of the game is where you can press down on splat number 1 and it will say state. You have to guess the capital before you let go, because when you let go, it says the capital. You can also flip it around, so it'll say the capital and you have to guess the state before you let go. Here's an example. What is the capital of Idaho? Boise. Presenting the buzzer system, and the buzzer system is making sure that nobody clicks in before she does the control. So none of these can buzz in too early. Also, when she does do that, when I click one of these, it will turn green, and none of these can light up green. Here's an example. What is the capital of California? Sacramento.
And then you can see them actually playing this game with their classmates. So they got to enjoy it with their classmates as well. And another cool thing is this students game actually won our Splat Tank competition. So now it lives in the app, and then they presented it to their school board. So going back to those skills that Brendan was talking about earlier, they're developing more than just coding skills. They developed some presentation skills, certainly some confidence having to get up in front of your school board at such a young age. So working on those real life skills as well.
Hi,
Oops.
my name is Harper.
And then that kind of second way that we talked about was increasing engagement through different subject areas. So we talked about how we don't think coding needs to live in a silo, like in a STEM or CS class. It can exist in many places throughout the school day. So over here on the left, you can see students doing a relay race in PE. They were in their basketball unit, so the teacher added in a basketball. And this is a game that students could maybe code in PE or in their STEM class and then go and play in PE. This next video is my favorite. We had another competition where the students were tasked with creating musical creations. So if we have any Harry Styles fans in the room, I think you'll like this. They coded a light show and the chorus keys for Harry Styles' song As It Was.
We are Miss Killen's grade 4-5 class from Liverpool, Nova Scotia, Canada. We are going to be singing As It Was by Harry Styles. And in this world, it's just us. You know it's not the same as it was. In this world, it's just us. You know it's not the same as it was. As it was. As it was.
So
And
this
Alexa, you already twice mentioned competition. So what is that competition?
Yeah, we do 4 events throughout the school year, and our one around Hour of Code is very like coding focused. And this was from 2 years ago. We did So You Think You Can Code. So kind of like So You Think You Can Dance, where everything was around musical creations. And these students actually had a chance to, because they won, they went on their local radio station and got to talk about their winning as well, which was really cool. And then the last piece is also bringing the Splats into some of those core content areas. So we have a library of K-5 standards aligned math and ELA games that live in the app already. So not only can we teach coding, but we can also bring the Splats into a math or an ELA class to add some engagement. So you can see these students are playing a long and short vowel game. where when the teacher steps on a splat, it'll say a word, and then the student has to step on the green splat if they hear a long vowel in the word, or step on the red if they hear a short vowel. And the splat actually gives them feedback of whether they got it right or wrong.
I'm turning purple. Tail.
So just a little way to make practicing those core concepts and reinforcing them a little bit more fun, bringing that kinesthetic element as well. So what we're going to do now is we're going to hop into the Unruly app. So I'm just going to switch over so I can give you a quick tour of what that app looks like, and you can see the coding interface as well. You'll notice that there's 6 splats over here on the left, because any splats game that you either create or play using the splats will only require 6 of these. They connect to the app via Bluetooth. So as long as your computer has a Bluetooth connection, you're able to connect the splats and play games and code them to do different things. So you can actually build a lot of different things. We never have students, like I said, starting from a blank coding screen. But once they go through that play, modify, create progression, they're able to start from that blank coding screen and bring their kind of ideas to life. But if they've used things like Scratch, Tinker, the block-based coding is going to look really familiar to them. It's that drag and drop, which is nice, and those kind of transferability of skills when learning about this new resource. But anything that the students put on the screen here will interact with the splats through the app. You can see my splat lighting up green. And if I were to connect a splat, this splat would light up green as well.
What about student security? So because this is very big concern.
Yep, we don't collect any student data, and we share one login for the school as well. And then they have anonymous profile names that you can either use the anonymous ones or use like a student ID number to create profiles for each student if you'd like. Great question. Like I said, we typically don't have students starting from that blank coding screen. So over here, we have a pre-built library of over 80 physically active games that get students up and out of their seats and moving. So after the students play this capture the splat game, it's like capture the flag, just using splats instead. They can move on to actually modifying the game. So say, you know, right now the game is to 5 points, but we want it to play to 10 points. We can ask the students, where in the code would we change the number to change to that new rule? So you can start helping them build those connections between the rules of the game and the actual code itself by making these simple modifications, you know, changing colors, changing sounds, all of those really simple things that then let them get to the point where they can start imagining their own games and then start from a blank coding screen. We also have a library of ELA and math games. So like that long and short vowel sound game that you saw in the example, those all live right in the app. And there's actually lesson plans that come with them as well. So say I was a 4th grade teacher and we're working on expanded form, I'll be provided with a whole lesson plan that provides a review of the concept and rules for how to play the game. In this example, the students are working on expanded form. So they must use the splats down here that are showing different place values to build to this target number. So they would stomp on this splat once, and then for the amount of 100s, which is 8. And then we have 3 10s and 1 1, and they get auditory feedback. So tons of different K-5 math and ELA lessons that live right in the app and that are ready for teachers to just pull up and play. And you don't necessarily have to worry about the coding. That allows us to bring that extra level of engagement into the general classroom. All right, and bring us back over to our slides here. If you have any
Yeah.
questions about the
Oh,
app,
yeah. So, I have questions.
you have questions. All right.
Sorry,
let's-
audience. So Q&A. So you have your turn rather later. So what is the battery life so for the Splat?
Yeah, great question. So if it's pretty regular use, so if you're using them multiple times a week, I'd say you get like probably a month out of the batteries. But if you're, using them more sporadically throughout the month, maybe like once a week, you might get, 2 months out of it. But we do have a battery checker in the app itself. So if your Splat is acting funky, that probably means it needs new batteries, and you can check the battery level of the Splat.
Is the battery rechargeable, or it is a kind of 3A or something?
Yeah, it's 3 AA batteries. We don't recommend the rechargeable. The voltage actually goes down quicker with the rechargeable.
Okay, and these Splats are durable, because I saw students are jumping, and so
Yes,
I
yes.
would like to dance on it as well.
Yes, designed with intention to be stomped on. So they're certainly durable. We use
And
them.
if they fall down,
Say it again.
if they fall down,
Yep. Yep. I don't think I've ever seen like a physically broken Splat. So they are very durable, but in the case that, something does happen to your Splat, they're under warranty, and we will replace them as part of the membership. So yeah.
Teachers
also-
too can stomp on them very much for, we
Oh, yeah.
estimate up to 300 pounds really can take, and we've thrown them off balconies, things like that. They are totally fine. So very durable.
okay.
Safely.
Oh, yes, and actually we do have the question from the audience. What is the teaching training look like? Because you said everything is in support and training, and teachers always have a fear of technology, especially new technology.
Yeah, I'm happy to take that one. So once a school signs on for an Unruly membership, they are given an Unruly support person like myself that will take them through an initial onboarding where they're learning the basics of how to use the Splats, but also taking it a step further where we're talking about implementation. So what does your classroom look like? What are your goals for using the Splats within your classroom? And then working closely with your Unruly team member to create a plan for success. And then that support doesn't just stop after onboarding, it is throughout the whole membership. So anytime that you have questions, need help, maybe you have an idea for a lesson, but you don't know how to code it, we'll code it for you. So we're really here to take that lift off of your plate. So in addition to your support person, we also have those 4 events throughout the year where we're sending you lesson plans to allow you to participate in these events and get students really excited and competing with coding. So those are the 2 major components. We also do, PD with schools as well. So we will do in-person visits to schools to help train multiple teachers and really just be hands-on. So a lot of levels of support to make sure every teacher has what they need to be successful. So.
And we have another question, how does it connect to standards? So computer science standards, or NGSS, or even Common Core. So what?
Yeah, great question. So all of our computer science lessons and coding lessons and games are tied to the CSTA standards. And then all of the math and ELA games that live in the app are aligned to Common Core standards, but we do help with state standards alignment. So if you have particular standards for your state and you need those games aligned, we will help with that alignment for you.
Can you give an example? So just how you align standards, so the Splat to standards, like in a state, if it comes to your mind.
So I'm thinking like Georgia specifically has their own math standards. So the math games in the app itself, what we did was we created a reference document for them saying this game aligns to this Georgia standard within the app. Because we basically looked at the Common Core standard and then what Georgia standard does that translate to?
So where, if, on your observation, where Splat is usually live in schools? So it's just in every classroom, in a so hallway. So where does it fit? Where does it live? Where
Yeah.
it is used?
Really through a lot of classrooms throughout the school. I mean, most typically like we'll see it in the STEM or CS classroom. But I think the big thing there is then building out those partnerships into the other classrooms like PE. So maybe students will code their games that they play in PE. Also, if a school is faced with, we don't have a STEM classroom, we'll then work with the general classroom teacher to figure out maybe we teach them how to code a math game that they can then go play the math game. So really they're intended to fit into multiple classrooms throughout the school day and have that flexibility. So students are kind of they're getting that computer science exposure in areas that they're interested in. So, and what I mean by that is like, maybe we don't have a student that thinks they're interested in computer science, but once they see the splats in PE and they love PE, now I'm interested in computer science. So just giving them opportunities to meet students where their interests are. Brianna and Brenda, I don't know if you want to add anything to that question.
It looks like it's your collaboration tool, not only between students, but also between students and teachers, and also between teachers of different subjects.
For sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, we see
Absolutely.
those partnerships and community being built within schools that use the splats.
Okay, so the community should be built on unruly ones.
Yes,
Agreed.
exactly.
And so if we are building community, so how easy is to use? So is it much training required? Because if you're bringing together the teachers from different disciplines, so they might have this objection.
Yeah, I think what I find is we may have a couple teachers getting started in a school. So maybe we start with a general training of like kind of the logistics of like this is how you turn on the splats, connect them and navigate, but then doing more one-on-one kind of implementation meeting where we talk to that teacher and kind of show them more how this fits in their classroom specifically and giving them those like classroom specific examples so that that we can kind of face those objections and make them feel comfortable using them. So
And you see what we did? We incorporated Q&A section into this presentation, which is very much unruly.
yes.
So just actually go.
You like it that way.
So continue, please.
Yeah, so
I just have
that
one last thing I just kind of wanted to put out there, but more just looking at all the clips and everything. Brianne, from your experience being 8-9 years now working with Unruly, what has been like your favorite, I don't know, maybe moment of the journey, or maybe see what it's done in classrooms? Do you have any moments that just kind of stuck with you?
Oh, amazing. Yes, I mean, a lot of teacher moments. I love hearing from teachers who say to us, I never pictured myself coding before. I've never done this before. And I'm now teaching other people how to code, other teachers in our building how to code with their students. And I'm now presenting to the school board about coding in our district or things like that. I love seeing that like growth and just the excitement that they have and the empowerment at the teacher level. And then as students, I just love seeing the creativity of the games that they come up with. One of my favorites was in a school in Somerville outside of Boston. We went in and it was fall and they had built a game called Bobbing for Apples, and it was like fall in New England, kind of a fun like Halloween activity, but he's using his head to bop the splat and bob an apple, and he turned it red and made it make funny sounds, and it was just so great. It was just very on trend with the season and something you could only code, like only a kid could come up with that, I think. So it was really neat to see.
That's
What are
great.
yours, Brendan and Alexa? Any other? We have so many teachers send us to. I love that they send us their photos or stories or videos of like the coolest things that are happening in their classrooms. It's just the best to see that on Twitter or over email.
yeah. Ooh.
I have one that always just sticks to me, but it was actually, I think Alexa I was with one of our school success managers kind of demonstrating this in person at one point, and she did something very simple. I think she just changed the color of the splats, and the students, they were all green, and then she changed the color to orange, and then the students stepped on the splats, and then every splat turned orange, and the whole class was like astonished that you were able to have such control over technology. These were kindergartners, albeit, so obviously just learning that you're able to. But it was just that like moment where it's like so like eye-opening and exciting, and they all gasped, and then they're like, "How'd you do that? I want to learn how to do that." And then they were all just super engaged now. For the rest of the segment Alexa was leading, they were like, "I just want to learn how to be able to do what you just did." And it was really cool.
I think for me, one of my most memorable classroom visits was we went to a school that we work with in Hawaii, and we've made a cornhole game with the splats. And I have never been in a more excited classroom of first graders to see how rowdy they were cheering. But also for them to like, they were so invested in the idea of getting to play the game that they were so enthusiastic about figuring out the coding piece together. So we actually played the game, then we coded it together, and then we let them play it again with their own like modifications to the code. And thankfully the school in Hawaii, they had like those separate classrooms because they were so loud that like it was shaking the room. It was so much fun though. They were awesome to be with. But I think just that natural excitement that you see, or what I've seen when I go to visit, is my favorite part of it. Student joy, to me is really important. I was always like needed to be up and out of my seat in school. So it's nice to see other students learning that way and excited to be doing it.
And we are so engaged even talking about it, and so enthusiastic and so
Yeah.
happy that we actually are so missing missing the clock. So we should
Yes. Yes.
we should look at the time.
Yes.
So, and but let me just okay, if we don't have any more questions, please chat. Use this opportunity as your last moment. Let me just summarize. So it was so wonderful to talk to you, to learn about the splats, and to meet your team and share your enthusiasm. So which I believe the teachers and students will share every time when they use this unruly way. And you can find the splats at Eduporium, so in our store. And Eduporium, again, so is a certified minority business, minority-owned business. And we are looking how these tools, these products are serving and enriching head and heart and motion or action. So that's why we choose the Unruly Splats to be part of our catalog and offering, because you clearly see that it is engaging the whole student's body, the whole child, and providing very holistic approach to education, and education is deep and meaningful. And we are also at Eduporium looking how to use these products, not only in specific programs like STEM program or talent program, but also how to bring these products into different areas, including physical learning, including social emotional development, including special education programs, and unusually in every classroom, in every subject, including not only math, but even language arts. So to really give the meaningful and very deep learning, active learning for our students, and help our teachers. So thank you all very much.
Thank you so
And
much.
let us know how can we help.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.